yourself and so grounded to not lose yourself that great that it extends to somebody else, so that way you give them the space to not lose themselves in you. And so lately I have been noticing this thing that people do, and I think that people don't know the difference between being nice and actually having grace. I think a lot of people think that because they're being nice, it's equivalent to grace. And yes, it is the lessened version of grace, but it's still the lessened version. It's not the full force. And I think that we genuinely just allow society to confuse the two, you know? We allow society to tell us to, or to kind of like shape our minds and make us think that we're being graceful when we're just being nice. And that confusion cost us, because being nice is easy, but being grateful requires strength. So I'm going to break it down like in some really base by base topics. So we're going to start off and we're going to define what nice and grace are and the difference in between them. So in the simplest form, grace is a quiet strength of moving through life with kindness and dignity and patience, especially when things are hard or undeserved. So grace is grounded and grace is controlled and grace does not need applause. So let's say that let's say you're having a problem at work, and let's say that it's not the biggest problem in the world, but it could possibly get out of hand down the line if you don't say something, but it's at the expense of another coworker. You could A, not say anything at all and let it potentially end up out of hand and sacrifice yourself and put yourself in a position that is going to make you far more uncomfortable than you already are. You can B, and by the way, that's so that first option, that's what being nice was. So option A was being nice. Option B, you can ignore it and ignore it and ignore it, and then one day blow out of proportion, and that's option B. Or option C, you can understand that whatever's going on might not be intentional. So talk to somebody first and see about the situation and see if there's a way to handle it where everybody can keep their dignity. You're not you're not being nice like A and just not saying something and potentially putting yourself in harm's way later. You're not putting yourself in a position to blow up on somebody or to no longer have the right to say the full situation because you didn't say anything. But you're allowing everybody the space to have enough dignity to understand the situation fully. And you don't need to, and it's not something that you'll ever feel like you need to broadcast. When you're being graceful, it won't feel like something that should be noticed. For me, honestly, I feel guilty when people witness me being grateful. I feel like, ooh, that's something you're supposed to know on your own. I'm not supposed to like example that for you. You know? Like it's different than being nice, because being nice is being pleasant and agreeable and polite, and it's focused on keeping things so smooth, and often being nice is avoiding conflicts. And as we all know, avoiding conflicts is literally the root of damn near every problem. And so you have to understand that grace is about character and being nice is about making other people comfortable. So they get confused because they almost kind of mean the same thing, but the weight that they hold is completely different. Grace holds the weight of the world without it being on your shoulders. being nice allows you to be consumed into it. And so not everyone deserves access to you, and not everyone deserves you being nice to them. However, everybody does deserve grace. Everybody does deserve the room to grow. And sometimes grace does not look kind. Sometimes it simply just looks like you walking away because the other solution was nowhere near as was never going to give somebody that space, you know? So if you didn't walk away, you were never going to give somebody the space that they needed to grow. So by walking away, you're giving them the grace to grow instead of shrinking them. Grace gives people accountability, and it's not something that enables bad behavior. It gives people room to grow. And so I'm going to double back on the fact that grace does include accountability. All people deserve room to grow with acceptance and love. It's inevitable. If people don't have room, and we know the outcome of this. We all have seen the outcome of what happens when someone is given no grace in their life. All people deserve the room to grow and to find themselves with acceptance and love. And every person on this planet can give that to somebody else if they allow them to just be their neighbor and not try and psychoanalyze and dive into their business. Because it's not about unlimited acceptance. You're not supposed to just like accept everything your neighbor does. But if your neighbor comes over and confides in you and, you know, they didn't commit arson or murder, then you can say, if you don't have anything nice to say to your neighbor, you say, hey, look, like I don't think that we're going to be able to even have this conversation respectfully. So I'm sorry, but like I'm gonna have to send you down to like Sally Sue down the road. She'll probably be a better option for you to talk to than me, you know? Like it's about making sure that you have your space without taking somebody else's space. Because it's an energy thing. So you can keep your energy without taking their energy. And if they're trying to take your energy, you can block that off and bounce it right back to them. But that's through boundaries, and that's through not giving people unlimited acceptance. That's what being nice is. If you're constantly nice to people and you're just handing out, okay, it's fine, no one's going to be learning because you're constantly becoming more of a shell of a person. They won't respect your boundaries because they don't know you have them. And now you're stuck wondering what the fuck. Why does nobody understand that I also deserve some of this that I'm giving? It's not a blind approval. It's okay, I see what you're doing and I understand how you got to that position, but personally for me and what I'm doing and for me to get to the position that I want to be in, I can't let you like dent my energy field. Like I need you to keep your energy over there because if you come into mine, I'm going to have a dent and then I'm going to fix that dent and then I can't focus on what I need to focus on. So like let me know when your energy shifts, or maybe one day my energy will shift and our energies can collide again. But right now, the only thing that you trying to come into my energy is doing is making dents, and that's kind of counterproductive. It's just being like, do you see how in that analogy, like it gave people the space, like it gives both parties the space to understand, oh, you don't want this. Oh, I don't want this. Oh, that's okay. We don't have to understand more. That's fine. That's okay. Grace does not mean removing consequences. It means not dehumanizing someone while they face them. Oh my God, why'd you do that? So, if a friend makes a mistake, Grace says, I'm disappointed, but I still see you. Someone hurts you. Grace says, I won't humiliate you, but I also am not going to tolerate this behavior. The world is not ending because someone messed up. But that doesn't mean that it didn't matter. Grace is the balance of, or not even the balance, but like literally the combination of, it's literally like, it's a muffin. Grace is the muffin, and inside this muffin is compassion and boundaries and accountability. All very big words that sound really intimidating, but because of how scared we are of how important those words are the reason why we hold each other back. Because we're scared of what happens when we do hold our boundaries and we hold people accountable, but we still give them compassion and ourselves compassion. You throw this combination into your life, and I swear you'll start to see some kind of difference. And so I do want to talk about the fact that it's so much easier to be nice. It's so much easier to be nice than graceful because it's a lot more comfortable. Being graceful is so uncomfortable, and because like people don't know how to receive it sometimes, and you might not even know that if you're handing it out in the right way. And so it's like anxiety. It's so much easier to be nice than graceful. Niceness avoids tension, it avoids problems, it avoids all those things that nobody wants to deal with, that are like, oh my gosh, this is such an intense energy. I can't deal with the conflict. When if you were to just deal with the conflict, you wouldn't have to continue worrying about the tension. Grace faces the tension that niceness avoids. And it's just like, it's okay. You're fine. It's okay. I mean, I know, like, yeah, like it's not what it's not what you wanted, but it's okay. Like, it's fine. It's just different than what we planned. That's fine. It's fine. Why would something be wrong with that? It's just not according to plan. But we don't need to act like the world is ending and get all upset with each other because it's not going to plan. And I don't have to be nice to you for you to understand that I am upset about this. But I don't need to attack you. And I'm not bashing people being kind and people being nice. I'm just saying that people are confused. I don't want you to think I'm attacking being nice. The world needs politeness, it helps society function. But politeness is not character. Being nice is not a character trait. Grace is a character trait. Being nice and being polite, those are actions that go along with any character trait. Anybody can be nice. You could be the worst person in the world and never give anybody grace ever, but you can still be nice to people. You can still give somebody $1 because you want to, you know? But that doesn't mean you're a graceful person, because let's say you might have gave them $1, but like they were just trying to cross the street and you wouldn't let them cross. Instead, you stuck your hand out the window and gave them $1. Well, what's this dollar going to do for me? I'm trying to cross the street. And like, you're the only reason why I can't cross the street. I feel like that might have been a bad analogy, but I'm really hoping that you understand what I'm trying to say. Because, like, what I'm just trying to say is nice is a behavior. Grace is an internal strength expressed outward. Grace is a form of emotional strength. Your most authentic self is rooted in your character and actions. So, not every behavior defines you. And so, just to make sure that we're super clear here, I'm going to break down the difference between behavior and actions. So, behavior is how you respond and how often you're being reactive, and it's influenced by your emotions or your social pressure. So, behavior is not what defines you. Actions are deliberate and intentional and chosen. You can always behave nicely while acting inauthentically. So, like, let's say someone makes you upset. Like, here's just a couple of examples of like the difference between the behavior and the action. So the action here, so someone shoulder checks you. The action here is you got shoulder checked. In response, your action is to smile, while your behaviors might be resentful. Wait. Hold on. Did I mix that up? Yeah, so you're behaving nicely while acting inauthentically. So your behavior is a smile. You smile at them and you walk forward. Now you might be thinking some nasty things in your head, but that's the action. You're choosing to smile because you know that when people shoulder check you, sometimes it's not always the night, like with no intention at all. So even though you're upset that this person shoulder checked you, you're still smiling. So the behavior is resentful. My behavior is resentful because I resent you for shoulder checking me, but I'm going to smile at you because in my most authentic self, you don't even deserve that much energy. Another example would be like agreeing while disagreeing internally. So you're literally agreeing in the very moment, but you're disagreeing on the inside. So for this, you are behaving nicely, you are agreeing while acting inauthentically because you're not acting on your emotions, which is a choice not to act. I'm hoping this makes sense, guys. So another example would be like apologizing to avoid conflict instead of because you mean it. So instead of holding out and not talking to someone longer, you choose to just say sorry even though you don't mean that you're sorry. To take the high road and let the situation fall to the ground. It's sorry. It's like hold on. Brain fart. Grace aligns behavior with intentional action. So if you're intentionally disagreeing or if you're intentionally agreeing while disagreeing internally because you know the situation is going to blow out of proportion, then that's you giving grace to the situation. If you're apologizing to avoid conflict instead of because you mean it, and in this specific situation, you could have just not said sorry or just expressed how you felt and not apologized at all. This is kind of being nice and not being graceful. And smiling while being resentful, another thing, that's kind of being graceful instead of being nice. Because like you could have said something when all you did was just smile and walk away, and you're still talking about it in your head, but you just smiled and walked away. You gave the situation grace. Because grace says, I will respond thoughtfully. I will choose dignity. And nice says, I don't want this to be awkward. I don't want to get uncomfortable. And that's a big difference. And there is a danger of being too nice. Oh, I'm so sorry, Pickle. There is a danger to being nice. People are far often too nice when it's not deserved. And this can show up in people's lives in so many different ways, like letting disrespect slide to avoid attention. You could have easily just said, hey, so like, I kind of felt disrespected there. I just wanted to let you know. And based off of their response is how you need to move from there, you know? Grace to the situation. Communication is grace, can be grace, can also not be grace. It's a level of contentment with yourself to also be content with the way that people are towards you and knowing that it's not personal. So, another example of a time like when people can be too nice when it's not deserved is when someone crosses a line and instead of like and you don't say anything. I feel like that's self-explanatory. And another thing that people do that they often mistake for being graceful when they're really just being too nice is overextending yourself to maintain an image. And the last example I'll give you guys is agreeing with harmful ideas because you don't want confrontation. You're literally choosing to be nice and sacrifice yourself because you don't want to confront the problem. And what happens when we are overly nice and we do things like letting disrespect slide to avoid tension and staying silent when someone crosses a line and overextending ourselves to maintain images and agreeing with harmful ideas because you don't want confrontation is resentment starts to build and life starts to get unbalanced and unaligned, and it becomes to feel a lot more injustice than it was ever intended. You know, like it just becomes unfair to you and the other person because now you're kind of both just in a limbo of dishonesty. And when I say injustice, I do just want you guys to understand that it's not a political term. Like it injustice happens in relationships, in families, in friendships, in workplaces. It's everywhere. Injustice can look like one person always shrinking or apologizing or carrying emotional labor alone. And the worst outcome of being too nice is sacrificing your most authentic self. Oh my gosh, what a shocker. You being disappointed because you don't understand yourself fully and choose to be consumed in other people and what they're doing so that you will never become fully yourself. We can be graceful without being nice. Graceful does not mean soft. Graceful does not mean passive. Graceful does not mean agreeable. Graceful can simply be calm confrontation, firm boundaries, not reacting publicly, holding your dignity when somebody else is losing theirs. Grace is not silence, it is self control. Grace is choosing not to become what hurt you. And maybe you don't owe niceness to someone who disrespects you, but you owe yourself the grace to give them the space to change. And so to close it out here, guys, I'm just going to bring it all back inwards. And I just want everybody to ask themselves right now just a couple of questions to kind of see where you stand with your gracefulness for yourself and others. So just take a second and ask yourself, where have I confused nice and grace? Where have I confused? Where have I used niceness to avoid discomfort? Where do I need to replace niceness with grace? Grace is not about being better than anyone, and it's definitely not about shrinking yourself to become more digestible. It's about being rooted enough in yourself that you don't have to collapse to keep that peace. Nice keeps things smooth, but grace keeps things whole. Grace keeps you whole. And with that, we close out this episode of being nice is not a moral high ground. And I hope everybody enjoyed, and I hope everybody loved this first episode back in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, that's all. I love you guys so much. Thank everybody for being part of the Yellow House Collective. I am beyond grateful for all of my supporters and all of my followers, and I'm so excited to continue this journey with you guys because I've got some things working and I've got some ideas, and hopefully they can be executed here soon and I can show you guys what I'm working on. So just keep your heads up and remember that you do hold a lot more power than anybody ever told you or allowed you to feel that you do. And like I said, I love you so freaking stinking much. I'm sorry, guys. It's okay. Cats are on the bed.